Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're doing something I absolutely love. We're taking what looks like a dry, boring wall of corporate financial numbers and translating it back into the massive, gritty, physical reality it actually represents. We're looking at Oil-Dri Corporation. And trust me, there is a whole world of heavy machinery and earth-moving hidden inside this spreadsheet.
To get a real sense of the scale here, let's start with a massive number right off the bat. Their net sales for Q3 2026. We're talking over $126 million. That is a huge chunk of capital for just a 3-month window. But the real question is, what does that number actually mean out in the physical world? Just how much earth had to be dug up, processed, and shipped to hit that kind of revenue?
Well, we're pulling this whole narrative directly from their SEC Form 10-Q for the quarter ending April 30, 2026. Now, I know a standard government filing might just look like bureaucratic paperwork, but if you know where to look, and we do, it's actually a treasure trove of operational secrets.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with a quick Q3 financial snapshot. Then we're digging into the operations, looking at revenue and profit margins, checking out cash flows and assets, and finally wrapping up with the shareholder value.
All right, moving right into Section 1, the Q3 financial snapshot, where we take a look at that top-line growth. The trajectory here is honestly pretty striking. When we compare the 3 months ending April 30th, there's a really solid jump. Net sales went from $115.5 million in 2025 straight up to $126.3 million in 2026. So demand is clearly there, money is flowing in, but as we know, top-line sales are really just Chapter 1 of the story.
Which brings us to Section 2, digging into the operations, or as I like to call it, the story in the footnotes.
Because to understand exactly how they made that money, we have to bypass the standard charts and dig into the actual footnotes. Right here, under Land, Mining Property, and Mineral Rights, the filing reveals the gritty core of their business. Oil-Dri doesn't just mix things in a clean warehouse, they are out there physically surface mining sorbent minerals. Their entire financial health is literally tied to the raw earth.
And that brings us to a massive variable cost, this concept the industry calls overburden. To get to those valuable minerals, Oil-Dri first has to scrape away all the non-usable rock and dirt sitting on top. And moving literal mountains of dirt before you even reach your actual product? Yeah, that is an incredibly expensive endeavor, and those stripping costs hit their cost of goods sold hard.
So the physical operation becomes this fascinating continuous loop. Step 1, you remove massive amounts of that overburden. Step 2, you extract the valuable sorbent product. And Step 3, you immediately haul that same dirt over to a previously mined site to restore the land.
This process, continuous reclamation, is actually a brilliant operational strategy. By taking the dirt they just dug up and immediately using it to fill older sites, they don't have to pay to move it twice. Plus, it fulfills strict environmental obligations, which, by the way, are carefully tracked on their balance sheet. It's this perfect, elegant intersection of physical engineering and corporate accounting.
All right, let's look at Section 3, revenue and profit margins. Sales are up, but margins are getting squeezed.
Keeping those heavy earth-moving costs in mind, let's look at their 9-month profitability. For the 9 months ending April 30, 2026, total sales hit an awesome $364.5 million. But remember that overburden? The cost of goods sold, which includes scraping away all that unusable earth, took a massive $263 million bite out of those sales. Like we said, moving dirt is expensive, and it shows up right here.
It brilliantly illustrates one of the oldest rules in business. Top-line growth does not guarantee bottom-line growth. Even though sales went up, those high operational costs squeezed their gross profit down to $101.5 million for 2026, dropping from $108.2 million the year prior. Basically, the cost of running the physical mines outpaced their revenue growth.
Let's turn to Section 4, Cash Flows and Assets, for a quick balance sheet breakdown.
With those margins feeling the squeeze of the mining costs, we've got to ask, how sturdy is the company's foundation? Can they handle that operational pressure? To find out, we look straight at the condensed consolidated balance sheet, specifically focusing on current assets to gauge their short-term liquid strength.
Just isolating this top portion, we see a remarkably strong defensive position for April 2026. Look at this. Cash and cash equivalents grew to nearly $63 million. They've got over $75 million in accounts receivable, so money owed by customers, and over $52 million sitting in net inventories. So despite the margin squeeze we just talked about, the foundational liquidity of the business is incredibly solid.
Finally, Section 5,
the shareholder value, and the two-class method. Okay, so we've seen the sales, the literal dirt moving, the costs, and the cash reserves. But how does the value pulled from the earth actually get distributed to the owners? Well, Oil-Dri uses this structurally fascinating two-class method for earnings. They don't treat every share the same. Instead, they divide the pie between two distinct types of owners with completely different priorities.
It's a classic business compromise built right into the company's DNA. If you hold common stock, you get just one vote per share, but you are guaranteed a cash dividend that is over 133% higher than the other class. On the flip side, Class B stock gives up a big chunk of that cash payout, but in exchange, they get 10 times the voting power. It's the ultimate trade-off. Do you want more cash today, or do you want long-term control over the mines?
You can see this exact dynamic play out in the math. Looking at the basic earnings per share for that 9-month period, common shares earned $3.15 per share. Meanwhile, those voting-heavy Class B shares only took home $2.37. The SEC filings actually forced the company to meticulously track this specific division of wealth.
By translating financial jargon back into physical reality, we've seen how seemingly dry accounting forms are actually detailed maps to surface mines, heavy equipment, and complex corporate governance. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. What other massive, physical operational secrets are hiding in plain sight right there in the footnotes of your favorite company's 10Q? Keep digging, and thanks for joining us on this explainer.